right, I've been given the go-ahead. Hi, thank you for joining me. My name is Elizabeth Sullivan. I am an author and a speaker, and today I am here because I'm going to get you thinking about adding a educational component for the youth and ushering in the next generation. Hopefully I'm going to inspire you to add that educational component for your project or business. So why? Why do we want to bring in the youth to what we're building? I'll tell you why. Because what you're building, they will be using. And they need to know how to use it, and you need to know how to explain it to them. So that's basically where I've been coming in. Now, I want to get a little bit of interaction here. I am going to give away a few books, like actual physical books. So let's talk a little bit. Show of hands. How many of you in this audience are parents right now? 1, 2, keep your hand up. 2, you get a book. You get a book. All right, meet me afterwards and I'll give you guys a book. So I'm going for a little higher percentage than that. How many of us in here have been kids once? Raise your hand. Yeah, there we go. Okay, you are listening. Awesome. So let's go back to the toys that we had when we were children. Does anybody remember having maybe a play flip phone, a BlackBerry type of phone where the buttons made noise? Or perhaps you even remember the pull behind phone with the red and the eyes moved and you could rotary dial it? Yeah? Okay, let's think about a few other toys that we had. What about the Dirt Devil vacuum, that red and black vacuum that our parents gave us that actually worked? That was a pretty good one. Let's think. Did anybody ever get one of those barnyard animal, like touch and feel books? Do you remember what I'm talking about? The little yellow chick was soft. You could touch the lamb's wool. There was the pig nose, where it was like a rubber peach type of thing. So the whole point of this is, why were we given these toys as kids? Well, it was because they were introducing us to components that we would use in our future. See where I'm going with this? So, in a sense, those kind of spark our imagination. And it's kind of funny, what will spark your imagination as a kid? If you think back, what did you do when you were a child that has inspired or helped you become who you are today? I very specifically remember being a book reader, an avid reader. I loved writing. I mostly wrote poems, don't do that anymore. And I always loved reading next level books. Now, my dad was an electrical engineer, and he was absolutely brilliant, in my opinion. So I remember looking at his bookshelf, and I picked up The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that book ruined me, because ever since then I've been huge into personal development and exploring in-depth things of what makes people work and how can we operate better as a human with other humans. I'll go a little bit deeper to explain why am I writing children's books now about blockchain technology. So a few years ago, stuff got real. I've been in this space since late 2017. 2020 rolled around, I think we all got deep into Discord and all the communities. But in 2021, I had a very severe asthma attack, and then I had to be intubated. So like the last thing I remember on a Friday evening was just counting the lights go by out the ambulance window. They were transporting me from one hospital to the next. The next thing I know, I wake up on a Tuesday. Nothing in between. I'm going to admit something to you. On a Tuesday night, I'm all alone in my hospital room, and I turned on the local news, and I realized that nobody would have known that I was gone. And nobody even knew that I was in there, as a matter of fact. And that shook me because I feel like we are all individually here to serve a purpose. And this little inner voice inside of me laughed, literally laughed at me, and said, of course, nobody would have known that you were gone. You haven't done anything big enough yet. You have not fulfilled your purpose. So it took about a year or so to heal and pondered, well, how do I step in and bring my talents and my giftedness to this space? Because you guys are brilliant. There are so many smart people here. We have coders and developers and engineers, and I just admire you. How can I bring something to the table that would honor what you guys are building? Well, if you've ever had a diagnosis or a near-death experience, you'll know that that is enough to inspire you to make a change, and that every morning that you wake up is a gift, and you just kind of pursue life in a different level. So I figured, you know what, I know how to write. I have a lot of experience, designing, so I think I could do the illustrations. And I'm going to take on the challenge of educating our youth on the basic concepts of blockchain technology. So in this past year, I've been on an adventure to explain basic blockchain technology concepts to kids. Currently, I'm on a month-long adventure, so it's going to be one book a month it's been a few months now. I don't remember what book I'm on, like 8 or 9. And then I'm going to end in August for VCon of 2024. That's in LA, so if you're going there, hit me up. That will be the last book. So it's been a really, really fun adventure. Let me kind of show you here. I kind of started out with the 3 Little PFPs. That was the very first book that I wrote, and it's a little twist on the 3 Little Pigs. And so if you've ever read the 3 Little Pigs, you kind of know the storyline. So I thought that was a great intro to introduce NFT and Web3 vocabulary. Now, I understand that we have a microphone and can hand it off to people. Now, if you feel comfortable, maybe I'll be able to hear you without it. But I am going to give away a book of the 3 Little PFPs if somebody can help me out with some vocabulary here. So each of the books has a little bit of summary in the back beyond just explaining it through the story, So if anybody here can tell me what WAGME means, then they will get this book. Want to raise your hand or shout it out? Where'd that come from? Raise your hand. Yeah, we're all going to make it. If you stick around, I see you. I know you're walking away, but I'll give you this book. All right, perfect. He's making his rounds. Yes, WAGME. So they're just simple ways to introduce this whole new vocabulary of verbiage to kids. We've gone through the blockchain odyssey where it follows a little notebook, and he goes and he meets nodes. What are nodes? Well, we need to tell kids what these are because they're very common in our world, and they don't know, but they're going to be possibly experiencing them. One of the books was Jane and the Blockchain, kind of like Jack and the Beanstalk, and that follows wallet safety. Talks about hot, cold wallets, keeping your seed phrase close and safe and private. It's been really, really fun explaining all of these concepts. I've been able to do proof of work through Benny the bee, the honey bee. He was able to solve a bunch of codes and therefore get some honey. I've been able to explain proof of stake. I've been able to explain DeFi. Last month, for January's book, remember we're doing one children's book a month, it was NFT visionaries. So the whole goal was to explain to people what is the point, what's the purpose of NFTs. So basically in this story, 4 friends get together and they discuss how they can incorporate NFTs into either their passions or their projects. And what the reader gets to do is by reading the story and listening into their conversation, they then learn and start imagining not only what NFTs are, but the potential for them and the various, because that can be really hard to explain to people. And I figure, like I said, what you guys are doing is so smart and intricate, and people want to know. We're very, very early here, so we have to figure out how to explain it to the next level. So you're thinking, okay, that's great. You've written a book. Now, how do I incorporate this? First off, like I said, explaining it. I would maybe challenge either yourself or your team to bring it down a little bit. So you might have white papers. You might have an elevator pitch. But can you explain what you do in your business? Can you explain your project to a high schooler? Can you explain it to a junior higher? Can you explain it to maybe the 5th grade level? Or how about a 5-year-old? If you can hit all those points, you're on a roll here. So that's the whole goal, is to summarize the basis of what we do so that the average person could understand it. A few other options here. So, all right. Maybe you can create like digital worksheets or matching games. We talked about the vocabulary factor. I mean, the educational component is missing on a very basic level here. So there's a lot of gaps to fill in. You can just do simple coloring pages. You could have a spokesperson something like that, for your business that talks to the kids, talks to the youth, just brings it down a bit. I mean, look at this. What kid wouldn't like what we're building here? Like, that is cute as heck. You can bring one of those on board, and that is your way in to speak to those kids. Physical items, toys. Has anybody here heard of pudgy penguins? Yeah, bee friends? Okay, yes, I love it, in the house. Okay, so pudgy penguins, you can now purchase their stuffed animals in Walmart. Don't get much more mainstream than Walmart. And Bee Friends, if you have not checked them out, I would definitely do that. It's an NFT project by Gary Vaynerchuk, and they are bringing IP to an intense level, definitely focusing on the youth and encouraging specific characteristics. Let's see, they've got trading cards out. They have stuffed animals through Macy's. There's so many physical items that the youth are absolutely loving. And the really fun thing is us as adults who are invested in these projects, we're the ones with the money to buy these things for the kids. So that's another way in. I don't know if you've ever thought of maybe creating a kids lab for what you do, but maybe some of us here started out through coding camps. I've seen them popping up everywhere, ages 5 to 8-year-olds, ages 9 to 12-year-olds. You know, like, coding camps are a real opportunity. So maybe you think about incorporating a kids lab into your business organization, and that's an awesome way to usher in the youth. I'm sure there's also a lot of availability as far as community grants, possibly, if you are working for the youth on that level. So I want to ask ourselves right now, what is our youth learning today, and how are we going to prepare them for tomorrow? Like, how are you going to fill in the gap? And on a personal level, for those of you who are like still determining your calling, I would encourage you to be bold and be brave enough to step into this space. Like, you are all gifted. You have greatness inside of you. You are amazing. And if you just explore that potential and be brave enough to bring the thing to life that you've been dreaming about, then I think that, wag me, we're all going to make it, honestly. You can do this. If I can do this, you can definitely do this. So honestly, I'm super impressed with everything that you guys have been doing here. I'm very grateful to be able to speak here at ETHDenver. Let's not forget to reach back and help the young ones up and help them thrive in this space. If you'd like to create maybe a children's book for your organization, my name's Elizabeth Sullivan. I could definitely help you out with that. But I would also encourage you to look within your community. I'm sure that you have plenty of artists and storytellers that would love to help inspire the next generation, would love to be on board with a project like that. So explore those opportunities within your own community if that's something that you'd like to build, or we can talk. Maybe you just have a personal story that you want to explain. I can help you learn about how that publishing process goes. But it really does start with believing in yourself and being brave enough to step in. That was my ultimate thing that I realized through the intensity of what I experienced, is you can do amazing things when you actually step into this space. Like, these don't just happen. And they wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been brave enough to step in. And it's really cool to be able to fill in a gap that only you can fill, but then through your actions to be able to see an actual result from that. It's super amazing. I hope that all of you get to experience that. Right now, my books are available on barnesandnoble.com, walmart.com, Amazon. You can check them out, Elizabeth Sullivan. I think that this is supposed to be like a fireside chat, which is fascinating. There's no fireside, and I don't know what we're going to chat about. But if anybody would like the microphone or would like to ask questions, feel free. I think we have that opportunity. Keep it basic, because that's what I do. I explain the basics to people. So, got him looking around. We have a question up there. Awesome, you're coming down. Thank you. I'm sure he appreciates that. Didn't know you'd get a microphone, did you?
Oh, exciting. Hey, I was wondering, what is the most difficult cryptocurrency or blockchain concept to explain to children? Like, is there a specific thing that just stands out?
The most difficult one that I've had to explain so far?
Like the one that children have the hardest time grasping.
That's hard to what?
Hard to grasp or understand for
to
them.
grasp, oh boy. It depends on how in-depth you want to get. Each one has been difficult, to be honest, because I guess proof of stake was the hardest one to explain. Proof of work, honeybees, you can kind of find where that would fit in, right? But proof of stake, I had a story in me, and then I actually decked it for like 3 months, and I wasn't sure how to bring it to life. I ended up going with someone like a horse farrier, and he shows his horses this magical wall of all the horseshoes that he had shoed over his farrier journey and stuff. And so then each one tells a story, but basically those were proof of his expertise. So that was interesting to explain. I think the more that I've done, the more in depth that I've been able to explain. And I can just answer that honestly. Like the 3 little PFPs was the first one, and that was easy because it was a vocabulary one. But actually taking on the challenge of explaining a concept to where somebody can walk away with a good grasp of what it was, that has developed better and better over time. The one that actually I have one coming out tomorrow. Had I known that I would have been here at ETHDenver, I would have maybe rearranged the topics. But the one coming out tomorrow is called the Bitcoin Zoo. And I am most proud of that so far because of the care that it took to explain Bitcoin and mining and decentralization and wallets in a very, very, like they just go through the zoo and meet all the animals, and the animals are like, I do this. So that has been the challenge so far. I can give you alpha. You like alpha tonight? Okay. Yeah, okay, alpha. Next month for March's book is going to be about the games of bull and bear. Yep, going to go into the bear market and bull run. So I guess that's my answer. Thanks for the question. Anybody else have a question? About publishing, writing? Awesome. Okay, well, if you do, come talk to me afterwards. I do owe a couple of people some books. I'll sign it if you want to. If you're interested, I do have a few more books, so just come talk to me, and thank you very much. I'll hand it over to the next speaker. You guys have a great time in ETHDenver.